welcome everyone. Thank you for taking time to join the webinar. And especially thanks to our panelists who represent the top tier of pretrial program administrators and executives across the country. They have not only given their time to join us today, but have also spent time getting ready for this webinar, and I'd personally like to acknowledge the contribution they make on a day-to-day basis to our field. As we look at our jail population aggregated nationally, we see that the number has, up until this very last report that came out last week, has actually been going up. This mirrors what the nation saw 50 years ago when Robert Kennedy was the Attorney General. And the Attorney General's office looked at the conditions and the populations of local jails, and there they found results that startled them. They found that the jails at the local level were literally full of individuals accused of crime rather than individuals convicted of crime. They found the jails were full of individuals who were held on ridiculously low bond amounts but were unable to make them. And they had seen that regardless of a trend that was turning downward in terms of public disorder and crime, that jail populations were actually going up. As a result, Bobby Kennedy convened the first national conference on bail reform that resulted in Congress passing the first federal Bail Reform Act in the mid-1960s, followed by over 40 states that incorporated in their legislation the ability, if not the priority, that judges look at non-financial release, base their pretrial release decisions on risk rather than dollars, and in a large number of states also provided judges with a mechanism to detain those that pose unmanageable levels of danger and risk. Now we fast forward 50 years and we see almost the mirror image of what Kennedy and the others saw. We see that if you look at the slide that's on your screen right now, according to Bureau of Justice Statistics data, the number of cases, the percentage of cases in which the court is setting money bail has gone up. And as that number goes up, the red line, pretrial release rates actually go down. Not a big surprise. Next slide, please. We also see that just as Kennedy saw in the 60s, that 2/3 of the inmates in America's jails this morning, I say this morning because I'm on the West Coast for this call, are there not because they're convicted, they're there not because they're being punished for crime. They're there because they're unable to
Our technical difficulties are persisting here, but we are working hard to get our audio back. We are aware we have lost the audio, so please stand by and be patient with us as we work out this difficulty.
So as we see from these data, The situation faced by all of us currently resembles to a terrific degree the situation faced by Bobby Kennedy and Congress in the mid-1960s as bail reform first got underway. However, we in 2010 are armed with an enormous advantage that wasn't available to those reformers in the mid-1960s. We have, in addition to over 4 decades of experience, the relatively new ability to engage and incorporate evidence-based practices, not only to drive our policies and to tweak our procedures, but also to help use the hard empirical outcome data to explain our policies and practices and to convince practitioners of the efficacy of this approach. The 8 guiding principles of evidence-based practice are, I'm sure, well familiar to most of you, but let's just take a quick second and go through. They are to engage in ongoing support in the community and in communication, to increase positive reinforcement, to skill train with directed practice, to target our intervention, to enhance the intrinsic motivation of our clients, and to look at risk and need, and to access actuarial risk, again, based not on our intuition alone, based not on our subjective assessment, but based on undisputed empirical data. So I would like to now turn over to our panelists the opportunity to join in and to participate and enrich this call. So if I could, can we bring up the first question for our panelists?